right? The church culture that we like to call it. I feel like it's toxic sometimes, and it makes it so impossible to even talk to a girl or date a girl.
Porn is a big temptation for Christian men.
Agree, disagree?
I'll start. So I highly agree. I feel like we live in a world where sex sells, and especially for men, there's a lot of, social media, on YouTube, things that are on the internet, shows a lot of sexuality, and it definitely tempts me personally. Obviously, as a Christian man, I try my best not to, fall into the temptation, but, it definitely does tempt us as men and as Christians.
Yeah, I highly agree too, because as you said, with social media and things like that, it's a huge temptation. You see a lot of things. Also, especially for myself, that's something that I struggle with, porn a lot. So, I'm just constantly in prayer and things like that. So
I'm gonna bounce off both of you guys. When you were saying that like sex sells, it's so easy to kind of just obtain porn now. Like literally on your phone, you just search up whatever you want, and it's just so accessible, especially to people who are like young, like 13, 14, who are just getting like a phone or whatever. Like their parents get, something new. It's so easy to just get wrapped in that hole, and people have been stuck in that for years. I'm talking about 10, 15, 20 years, and they're just starting to realize that like 40 years old, was I just addicted my whole life? Like, without even knowing, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
It's crazy.
One thing I would say is that I think in the future, as more and more research is done, about the effects of pornography, especially on young people too. I think a lot of people are going to start to realize, even non-Christians, like how damaging it can be. So I'm really hoping that God, continues to expose that. I think it's really important.
I'm okay with my date taking charge.
I don't know how to feel about this one.
I don't either. Honestly.
I guess taking charge. I don't know in what form. I guess if it's like, hey, we're going here, or I think that's nice, right? Like say, hey, I'm surprising you. Let's go somewhere, right? Let's go to dinner. Let's go catch a movie. You don't know what movie it is. I think it spices up the element of surprise. So I think it's not bad if sometimes your date takes charge.
Yeah, I would agree, but I'm sorry.
No,
But
go
I would
ahead.
agree, but I feel like the reason I lean more towards the disagree is because I feel like as a man, you should kind of step up a little bit and take more of like a leadership role. Even if you're in a relationship, like you should kind of take accountability, because you really want to prepare for marriage in a way. And you're not married yet, but it should just be a way for you to take on extra responsibility. So, and I don't believe it's wrong for like you said, like a girl suggesting like, oh, let's go here or whatever. That's fine. But for instance, like when it comes to, like I know it's probably a big topic nowadays, like paying on dates and stuff like that. I don't mind it being 50-50, because I feel like we're all like young still. So being expected to pay for everything is like kind of hard when you're not working full time, let's say, or like you just have all these grand expectations, but in reality, you're not even in a position where, like, let's say you're married, where you are responsible for that.
That's why I'm more on the, this is somewhat disagree. I do think, like, as a man, you should take initiative. You should be the one that that leads your date, that leads your girl to, in a relationship. But, sometimes, as men in this society, we also want the girl to also want to do things with us. Like, we can't, like, do everything and then the girl's not doing anything for the relationship. So that's why I'm right here.
I do agree with what you're saying. Like, I think a guy should take the initiative. I think we should put that step forward, but it is nice to have the woman take a step forward for some things as well.
It's perfectly fine for a Christian to date a non-Christian.
I'll start. So I strongly disagree. I believe that like the Bible says, you should be equally yoked when you're going into a relationship. You should go into a relationship as you're trying to marry this person, and they should also have that same mindset as you, because you don't want to date to not marry, because then you're just wasting your time.
Right.
So I believe that spiritually, you have to be equally yoked.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I agree. I definitely agree because I come from both. I come from both sides where I dated, outside of Christianity and inside Christianity, and it's very important for us to be equally yoked. Because as you said, we don't want to waste our time. We waste our time with things we're gonna be dealing with a lot of trauma, drama, all this stuff that that's unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's very important. To definitely be aligned in the will of God for our lives, and who He has for us is for us, and we must be equally yoked amongst one another.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we could look at also in a dynamic of of a relationship. You see how it is like when you are together. Like how are those conversations going to go? How are those conversations with your parents or her parents are going to go? You know what I mean? Like if they come from a background that's very like to party, like to smoke hookah, like we see everybody around here doing nowadays. How is that gonna go when you want to pull her to church on a Friday, or you want to take her to church on a Sunday, or you want her family to go to, it's not gonna work out. You're gonna be in a constant battle with that person. So it's just rather just to, kind of leave it or be friends with that person. That doesn't necessarily mean that we need to not, mix ourselves with the world, right? Like we could be friends with them. We could, plant that seed in them because that's important. That's what our job is to do as Christians. You know what I mean?
The world.
Exactly. But it's to mingle and be with them like together. It's like,
So yeah, I originally picked somewhat disagree, but I think I want to change my answer. But I'm gonna explain like why I came here. So I know that when you get into a relationship, like sometimes people are like, oh, they're gonna change. But I was thinking, it's like you don't want to be with the person before they change, or like, you know what I mean? Like you want them to be equally yoked. Like you don't want to be like, oh, this girl is beautiful. Like let me chase after her, and then eventually God will change her. If anything, get to know her before you date her, and see where it goes. You want to be her friend before you become her husband.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm gonna change over.
Hey, welcome to the team, bro.
Men are expected to have their lives figured out at a young age.
Yeah, that is very true.
My parents gave me the freedom to kind of decide what I need to do when I kind of want to do. And I think that's why I thank my parents a lot because, I grew up Christian, but they never forced Christianism on me. Never told me, you have to go to church, every single Friday, every single Sunday, right? Like it's your choice, like from a young age, like 10, 11. And I think that gave me the liberty to kind of choose, like, I really want to be in this lifestyle. I really want to have a strong relationship with God. And that actually brought me even closer than ever. So they never really expected me to kind of be somebody at a young age. Well, I do understand the stereotype or social media, like we were talking about before, or just the worldview in general. Like men are supposed to have a $100K, figure job salary, have a wife by 25, have a kid by like 29 or whatever. But I feel like from my personal experience, I kind of got to choose what lifestyle I'm doing, and it only just applied me, much that harder, right? It just made me go deeper into what I want to go into, and just deeper into God in general. So
I could agree with that, but I was thinking more like abroad, more
Like society,
more with society, that how people view men, that they should have things figured out, they should have a nice job, they should have their house already before they want to marry someone. Like that's what I kind of grew up thinking as a man.
I feel like those expectations are like pushed onto you too, like from your family, where it's like, you're a man, like you have to have your job figured out because when you get married, you have to be able to support your wife, you have to be able to support your children. But it's like, I personally, in this point, I don't have things figured out completely either, but I also want to wait for the right person, and I want to wait for the right time, and I want to wait for God's timing.
in this day and age of dating, you know, we already know how it is. You know, you gotta have this, you gotta have a car, you gotta have a house, you gotta have all this stuff, and you only.
Right,
I'm
the
28.
church culture,
You know,
they would like to
yes, I
call
don't
it.
have
I
my
feel
own
like-
house yet, but it will come. You know, like things like that, and us men, we deal with a lot of pressure because we have to have certain things at a certain time.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of what's coming up is like comparison.
Yeah.
I think comparison does a really good job of like stealing your joy, like as a
Yes.
Christian, you know.
Big.
I think God has us in like a lot of different places. And then I think what was difficult for me about the question, it really depends on who's asking. So like for society, and I guess what society thinks, like regardless if you're Christian or not, a lot of things are like changing. Like I think the average age of getting married is being pushed back a lot. A lot of people are choosing not to have kids.
Yeah.
And that's for a variety of reasons. It's pretty complicated. And like, I think me personally, I got to do a really better job of like not allowing those different changing. It's like a moving like goalpost. It's like 1 minute, like I'm pressured to do this thing. Like society tells me to do this other thing, but like I just have to do like what God wants me to do now.
Yeah,
You know,
amen.
like
Amen.
it's so easy to just get like I guess discontent in the current situation.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable talking about my struggles with other Christians.
Wait. Oh, I'm still here.
All right. So I kind of disagree. I think I'm more thinking about personally. I haven't really, like, I'm not really an open person. I can't just go up to somebody like that's also a Christian and just talk about my problems and stuff like that. I guess I have to learn how to get to that place because I feel like that is good for me. But as a person, like knowing who I am, I'm not gonna just do it out of the blue. I have to learn. I have to, you know, hopefully take that risk so I could actually build more with other, like fellowship around to actually talk about my problems and like, you know, actually feel better about myself.
I feel like it goes with like once again like knowing who you're trusting, like who are you talking to, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that this person isn't stabbing you in the back.
Yeah.
Like, you want them, you want to trust them. You know, you want to trust them with this. I don't mind talking to Christians. I'd rather talk to a Christian about my struggles than talk to somebody that's of the world, you know, because people of the world don't really understand as well as a person with like a Christian mindset.
I'm gonna draw from my personal experience. I've been all my friends, well, basically all my friends growing up were like Christian. Growing up in my old church and stuff like that, and everything. But I've experienced a lot of betrayal by people who are Christian. And I think it's kind of funny because it's like, well, that shouldn't really happen because we're Christian, but it does happen. And I think that's why I'm kind of in this area right here, because while I would love to talk to, you know, and I have people around, but like while I would love to talk to more people who are Christian, who I can share about my issues, my problems and everything else, I still struggle with the fact that, you know, that these hardships and these betrayals have just lined up through years. And it's very hard to overcome that. I'm only 21. I'm super young. I'm like a baby. so it's still really hard for me to process. And I got a lot more years to process what happened. But I want to be over there. You know what I mean? Like that's my goal, to be in that. Highly agree, because I feel like as Christians, we should just come up to each other and be like, yo, what's up? How we doing? Have a nice dinner or whatever, and then you guys could share some stuff, and that's it.
Amen.
But I feel like it's just a growing process for me
I
personally.
just want to say it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's a
not easy.
it's a lonely road for a while.
Yeah.
But you know, once you do find those people, it's great. You know, they're supportive. They trust you. They always push you, and they always got your back.
Yeah, it was a process for me too. I know definitely, like earlier in my walk with the Lord, it was definitely difficult to open up. But eventually I know like you kind of like have to. Like if you keep a lot of what you're going through, whether it be like difficulties, circumstances, sin struggles, whatever it is to yourself, it can kind of just worsen and like fester. Yeah, and I'm really thankful to God for the community that He's given me now, like with my local church, just to open up to them. Like I can stand here and say that it's because of me that it's easier, but really it's like their love and their openness that I've been able to share a lot of like my struggles with them. So it's really a blessing for sure.
So I aligned with you. I'm also young. I'm only 20. So I also wish I could be over there, and it's just hard for me sometimes, but I know it's important. Like the verse you said, confess your sins to others. To me, it's more about just, like you said, more than just being accountable, but also they can help you better, like get better and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, and I wish that as I grow, that I will be able to be more open to other believers. I think it's also another thing, like sometimes it's just like kind of embarrassing to talk to other believers, especially if you don't know them that well, or you don't
Especially
know how
like
they're gonna
leaders
react.
for like
Yeah.
pastors.
Yeah,
right?
that's something I kind of struggle with too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's like, how are they gonna see me after this or whatever? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like hard, but I don't know. I do not want it to fester,
backfire.
like
Uh-huh.
you said.
You just don't want a
It's
problem.
just
Like,
yeah.
Just don't want that drama.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in between this one and this one. I was on here, but then as hearing responses, I'm stepping back. But I do agree. It just goes back to being open and vulnerable with who, if you can trust that person.
Yeah.
You get me? Because a lot of people will use whatever your struggles against you. Like, oh, or there's people that's waiting for you to fall. You get me? Like, oh, you're supposed to be a Christian. Why are you doing this? Like
A lot of judgment.
people,
Yeah,
and people forget
That's true.
that we struggle.
Exactly.
Just because we in Christ, don't mean everything is gonna be
Come on.
Yeah, and
better.
like,
You get what
people
I'm
don't
saying?
People don't understand that. Like,
Yeah, people
like
don't
as a
understand
Christian,
it.
we go through struggles too because we're also human. You know what I mean? And they think that because like we're not actually following a Christian standpoint, that we're hypocrites.
Yeah.
When we're actually in reality, like personally, I have fallen into certain things, and I've gotten that backlash. Like, oh, you're supposed to be a Christian. Why are you doing this? And I'm like it kind of pushes me down. That's why I kind of struggle with confessing my sins to others. All right. I walk all over there.
It's attractive when a woman has an active role in church.
Hell yeah.
All right, I'll start. So I think it is. I think it's very attractive as a Christian man. Like I'm a worship leader in the youth in AYC. So I do like, cause my girlfriend, she also sings. I do like that a lot. I think that she also wants to build her talent that she has, that God gave her, and wants to build a ministry with me and be in ministry with me. And I feel like it makes me feel like, oh, this is the girl that I want to be with, It shows that the connection that we have together, that we both want to build ourselves in God and build our relationship around Christ, being around Christian people, fellowshipping around friends that I know that are Christians that want the same thing. So I think it's very attractive.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm on the same line. But I also agree that one thing you said that's very important is that you want to build it together, right? You want to serve together. I feel like a lot of people, like Christians, men or women, we get caught up in like looking at it as a competition. Like, oh, am I as good as this guy, or am I as good as that person, whatever. But I feel like that's just very toxic. It would be much more effective if you work together and realize your own shortcomings or your own strengths and then bring them together to ultimately be
I
better.
kind of want to piggyback off of that. So, like, I agree. I think it is attractive in the sense that, it shows your commitment to God and your sacrifice. But I also feel like I asked the question, like, are you doing it for the right reasons? Like, are you doing it because you're committed to God, or are you doing it because you want a title? Or are you doing it because you want a nice
Recognition or
image?
something.
Yeah.
You don't want to filter over your life.
Right.
Like you want something genuine, that's for God, and you're not doing it for somebody else. Like, oh, like this guy came to church, I think he looks really good. Let me show him that I could worship really good. Let me show him that I could sing really good.
Let me sing Build My Life really
Or
good.
the other way or the other way around, like are we singing? Are we playing? Are we
performing.
Preaching.
Yes.
Yeah. Are we preaching for God, or are we doing it because we think somebody in the crowd looks good?
Right.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, I think it's really actually like unattractive when a person you're interested in is not involved in like their local church and like committed to it.
Yeah.
And that's for a variety of reasons. Like for example, you know, I'm sure a lot of you guys maybe have experienced this. Like when you're really involved in ministry, there's a lot of like pressure. There's just a lot of straight up like suffering. So like to make a decision kind of like to marry someone or to be in a relationship with someone, you know, that like hypothetically doesn't want to get involved in their church, is just, you know, doing the bare minimum. It's like, what do you expect to happen like during marriage? Like when marriage gets really difficult. Like it's really strange. Yeah.
Come on,
That's a good point.
yeah, with the vibe.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I think if I'm picking someone and they're really involved in ministry, it's a really good thing.
Yeah, I like that one.
I was like, son.
The way a Christian girl dresses matters.
I'll go first on that one.
All right, let's go. Let's go with this guy over here.
Yeah, we gotta hear this.
Like the second time. So in my perspective, right, I grew up in a super really Pentecostal church. Really Pentecostal. No earrings, no makeup, nothing like that, right? I think it's to a certain degree. You have to look at perspective real quick. You have to look at a woman who's dressing to get eyes or a woman who wants attention. But I don't see it as any way as like, you know, if a girl wears pants, tight pants or whatever to go out, not church, right? We're not talking about church. Or like to go out or to go on a date or whatever. It's a flowy dress, sundress, whatever. I don't see a problem with it. Yeah, you're going out with your partner. You're gonna have fun. You're gonna, you know, go out for dinner, stuff like that. You're gonna catch a movie, whatever, right? But I think it does come into perspective when you're at church and you're coming and dressing with like mini skirts or you're coming with something really revealing. That's a different story. But I don't think we should judge by how someone dresses, straight up.
So do you feel like a Christian woman dressing revealing outside of church is okay?
I think we could take that term like revealing, again, into perspective. Like what is like the certain limit? If it's like, it goes back to what she's dressing it for. If she wants attention, if she wants people to look at her, you know, then I don't agree with it. But if she's just doing it because she just likes the way it looks, and I like the way it looks or whatever, we're going on a date, like I don't find it a problem for a girl to wear something like that. I think of it as a guy perspective too. Like if you're like, man, she's gonna get mad eyes tonight, like I feel like you gotta take yourself and look at yourself a little bit more. Like maybe you're a little bit insecure, like about your girl, because she looks really good. Like I feel like it's something you should be kind of proud of.
All right, can I respond to that?
Sure.
So, yeah, I hear what you're saying a lot, and I don't agree because, first of all, it's not about where you are. So whether you're in church and dressing modestly or outside and dressing immodestly, the fact is dressing immodestly is wrong biblically. And women are commanded to dress modestly for a reason. And I think it's important that, like, okay, let's say she's wearing something revealing and she likes it. I think it doesn't really matter as much what she likes as much as what God likes. And I think a good outline for modesty is to draw attention away from your body and to draw attention to your face, because that's where the light of Christ shines from. And so I think it's important for women to do that no matter where they are, really.
Yeah.
So I think I think it's not really insecure to want your girlfriend to dress modestly. I think it's, first of all, it's protecting her from there's a lot of bad men out there who will see that and see as like an opportunity to take advantage of them or do anything like that. Yeah, and like we see also women dressing immodestly on Instagram. So let's say it's a different story if you're going out, right, according to you, but I think it's the same thing. Like at a certain level, if you really don't want attention, then why would you dress like that in the first place? It's like the people who post half-naked pictures on Instagram, but then they're like,
Right.
oh, I'm doing
that's
it
like
for
crazy
me.
though.
But they're saying I'm doing it for me though. But like, no, in reality, they're doing it because they like the likes, they like the attention and the validation.
Yeah, it also kind of goes back to like the first question. Like it does tempt, you know what I mean? Girls that wear like stuff that's kind of revealing, there's a lot of guys, we are men, we could find that very attractive, especially for a Christian man. It is tempting to see other girls in that way.
Right.
So that's why I'm here. Personally, I prefer, especially me being in a relationship, I prefer my girl to dress not too revealing, to at least cover everything, because also, I'm not insecure, but I just want respect, you know? Do you want to be in a relationship with me? I think that since I want to be with you for the rest of my life, that I should have the respect of you trying to cover up as much as you could for me, you know?
Yeah, and it's just like,
I agree with what Kevin was saying.
Oh, okay,
You know, you don't want to be a stumbling block for somebody else.
definitely.
You know,
Right.
like you should be the same in church as you are outside. Like you don't
I agree
want to
with
be
that, yeah.
like, you know, let me cover myself up, but outside I'm gonna show everything. You know, now you're attracting attention to people who you should be attracting to God and not to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, as I was listening to you, I was thinking, you know, like, I feel like it's, you know, like, when you go outside, you know, who are you representing? You know, and I think that is very key and it's very important because if you going outside, you dressed like half naked, and then you trying to minister to somebody, that person is not going to receive what you're saying because of what you have on.
Because
things
you
like
look,
that.
you look like the world.
Yeah, you look like the world.
or they may listen to you, but only because of the way you're dressed.
Yeah,
Like, let's say,
exactly.
like they won't listen to you and hold that message in because they realize the goodness of God. They'll do it because maybe they're attracted to you or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I think there's, what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not saying that your girl's gonna go out basically like half naked. What's more saying, it's like what her style is. Well, when I was in a relationship before, and she would dress the way that she would dress, like, she wouldn't dress half naked. Like, it wasn't like she was revealing everything, but she would wear certain things that, you know, it would be like, you know, it wouldn't be super crazy revealing, but it'd be a little bit. But it's not to the point where it's like, well, I'm purposely doing this. I'm just doing it because I think it looks good. And I didn't really see having a problem with it or something like that. But it's not like to a point where it's like you're revealing everything. You know
Yeah,
what I
okay.
mean?
I have a question real quick
Sorry,
for you. What is revealing to you?
Yeah, I was.
I
About to
think
ask.
that's a good question. I think revealing is like, all right, we're guys. We're just gonna plainly say it. Like, if it's like a shirt that if you're walking, it's going up and you can see everything.
Okay,
I
but
feel like that's revealing.
Here's
Or
another
like
question.
if it's like something really short and when you sit down, it rides all the way up. Like, that's
do you think-
crazy.
Like, let's say like a girl like wears tight jeans and, you know,
Yeah.
they're kind of curvy-ish. Do you think that's
yeah, that's what I'm
revealing
gonna
too?
ask. Like, if it outlines their body, do you consider that revealing or not? Like, because I feel like revealing is not really only about how much skin you're showing.
Right.
It's like if you're deliberately wearing like extra tight clothes and you could like literally see everything, that's also revealing.
Right.
Yeah, I guess you could kind of take it right back what I'm saying. Like, I feel like, well, this is my personal experience. It goes back to what perspective is. It goes back to what she's doing it for. Obviously, if I see it as a problem, like, hey, like, those jeans are a little bit too tight, like, yeah, I'll tell her, look, you gotta change them. Like, go change into something. I mean, I never had that problem before because she would always wear like baggy jeans, so I never had that type of issue before. But yeah, of course, I do agree. If it's something that's like, in my perspective, it's just about purpose. It's just about what you're going out doing it for. I think if it's something that you generally like without having it, you know, be super on purpose, the whole tight jeans thing, like, yeah, I disagree with that. But I think for me, revealing is, to go back to your question, revealing is showing skin. That's
You
what
should,
I mean, it's
you
pretty-
should move more this way, though.
It's pretty great.
probably like someone.
I think it's pretty great though. I feel like it's
I guess so. I guess highly was too much, and then because I thought of it as like you telling a girl what to wear every time.
No.
So, like, so to speak, like, oh, you can't dress like that. You gotta dress like this.
I wouldn't
like,
agree with that.
like taking control of them. I don't agree with that.
Wait,
I don't.
I have a question. You guys are done. Did everyone talk?
No, except
No,
for
no,
me.
no.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a gray area. Like, I don't think you can give like a prescription of like this type of clothing is okay, this type is not. I think there's other ways to think about it too. And I know it's a bit of a cliche answer, but some of it is just praying about it too. Like,
Yeah.
I do think like if you have a good heart with it, and you're being open to willing to change your wardrobe, like I think God will reveal certain things that maybe you shouldn't be wearing.
Yeah.
And then also, women have different body types too.
Yeah.
So maybe for one woman, wearing something may not be maybe as immodest as wearing for another woman. So I think it depends too.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you could wear jeans, baggy jeans, and it'll still show. Just that's how their body is. And it's just like, you can't blame them.
Right.
Why go drop some pounds or whatever?
That's
no,
true,
you
that's
can't
true.
tell them that.
Wait.
What was the question though?
So my question is, let's say you have a girlfriend because we're saying a lot of like, okay, it's obviously about the girl's intention, right? But what if this girl is your girlfriend, right? And she's a new follower in Christ, and her intention isn't to dress immodestly, but she does out of habit. Would you have a problem with that?
Yes.
I mean,
I think over
I
time,
wouldn't have
Like crop tops, I'm talking about short shorts.
I wouldn't have a big problem.
yeah, not a big problem, but I think
But,
over
like,
time it
crop
should
I would
change.
definitely, but I would,
Wait,
but I would
crop top?
definitely like nudge her, be like, hey, you know,
Bro, crop top and short
Hopefully-
shorts.
Right.
not that, obviously not that.
I don't see a problem with a
But-
crop top.
Like me being in a relationship,
I don't
like I haven't experienced that, and like thank God, like my girl actually dresses modestly, and but there are some times where you're kind of, it's a little curvy. Do you think you could wear something else or something to just cover a certain place in the body? It's like those little things that I just say.
Crop tops and short shorts. What?
Yeah,
Bro, that's wild.
crazy.
That's wild.
See, I don't think crop tops are bad. Like, I mean, if it's like crazy here, like, all right.
In church,
But if it, oh no, in church, no, never.
In
never.
general, bro.
But then we go back
I
to
think
like,
in
the
general.
location. So you have outfit wardrobe.
Exactly, that's what I'm
Like, oh, this
saying.
is my church wardrobe. This is my going out.
Yeah, like I don't get that. I don't get how you.
I don't know.
I don't know.
depends on
I feel pressured to get married young.
I'll go first. So I feel like this goes back to like being pressured, like in your family. Personally, this is always pushed on me. It's like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? It's like, yo,
Not the,
like, can I just focus on God first? But yeah, it's always been pressured on me, not just now, but even when I was younger, like when I was in high school, it was always pushed on me.
All right, me personally, I do not feel a lot of pressure getting married. Also, like being Spanish, in a Spanish background, a lot of people in my family, they got married young. But, you know, they kind of understood that, you know, we're living in a different age. Obviously, they might think that we should get married at a young age, like at least less than 30, but I don't really feel pressure. I'm only 24 years old. And my mentality, I do want to get married in my 20s, hopefully soon, you know. But like, yeah, like personally, I don't really feel pressure with the marriage stuff.
I agree with that. And I think it goes back to me being so young. I'm only 21, so I don't feel that pressure at all yet. I do want to get married at least by the end of my 20s, 27, 28, right around there, if God allows. But I think it goes back to that right person. Like it's, oh, man, we could get into this all day. But like, you know, it's just that about that one person, like I've been told that, you know, you're not gonna see it where it's coming from, it's gonna happen, you don't have to force it. It gets kind of blurred sometimes, like, oh, maybe this person's it, maybe this person's not it. You know, we talked about Christianism, right? Like they have to be Christian, that's number one, right? They can't wear crop tops or shorts. You know what I mean? But you know, it goes back to the question. Like, I guess for me, I just don't feel that pressure yet. But it's like,
This has been my whole life.
yeah, and it's crazy.
Like, yo, do you have a girlfriend? Like, when are you gonna get a girlfriend?
I do get it, and my family's like that too. My family, well, when I used to be in a relationship, it was like, oh, you know, you've been with this girl for such a long time. Like, when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna, like, you know, you're at this age. I'm like, I'm 21. Like, I haven't even got my degree yet. You know what I mean? It's like, so now that it's like, you know, I'll chill and relax. I think it's just living an important single life. Well, I guess for me in general.
Can I just say
Yeah.
too, like, I feel like getting married is very personal.
It is.
It's something that takes time. Like you were saying, you know, like, is this the right one? You're constantly looking to see if this person is the right one. You know, you want to be equally yoked, like we spoke about before. Like you wanna do all these fancy things, you know, but you want to be right. You want to make sure it's God's will. You want to make sure that it's the proper time and that it's from God.
Like, I'm on the fence about this whole idea about the one, because I'm not really sure if it's biblical to think that there is a one for you out there. I feel like when you get married, like, there's a lot of people who say, oh, I shouldn't have married this person, or like they comment about other people's marriages, like, oh, like God didn't approve that relationship. But how do you, like, first of all, how do you know? And second of all, like, a marriage can be successful if both people put in the effort and follow the commands that God has for you in marriage. That's why I feel like I'm so confused about this whole the one thing, because I feel like we think like the one is going to be this person we're going to find, there's not going to be any issues.
Right.
It's going to be perfect. Everything's going to go amazing. But I feel like that's impossible.
Which might be the opposite. They might have a lot of problems.
Yeah, and or you could end up being with someone who in the beginning you have all these issues, but over time, like, you realize like those issues, there's things that can be worked on. So that's why I'm kind of neutral. And also I grew up in a much different culture than you guys. Like, I'm Egyptian and I grew up Orthodox Christian. So our beliefs are very traditional. And my parents, like, in Egypt, there's no such thing as dating or anything like that. It's, you see a girl, you go to her dad or her mom or her parents, and you're like, I want to marry your daughter, and that's it. And then if they agree, you sit with the girl, you get to know her a little bit. If you like each other, boom, straight to marriage.
Wow.
Like, you get engaged, plan the wedding, whatever. That's why I feel sort of pressured to get married. But I also, my mom is very adamant about me and my dad, like, about having a career and making sure that I get married at the right time, like making sure that I can provide for the girl I want to marry. So that's why I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah, that was a big lesson that my parents gave me too, about just having certain things in order before you get really serious into a relationship. I'm thankful that my parents never really pressured me like greatly to get into a relationship or to get married. And I don't think any of my other relatives have either, so I'm thankful for that. But I get a lot of like indirect pressure, which I know some of you guys mentioned. So like I have cousins, most of my cousins are girls, and all of them are in relationships, and all of them are thinking about marriage. And they're like, I'm 26, they're like 3 to 4 years younger than me. So it was like, wow, it's like kind of like this indirect pressure, and they've never made fun of me for being single or never pressured me to get into a relationship or even teased me. So I'm thankful for that. But still, it's just that like indirect pressure, right? Sometimes it's really difficult to deal with.
Christianity makes finding love difficult.
That's a good question.
All right.
I'm gonna stay here.
Stay here.
I'm gonna stay here.
I'll be right here.
So I strongly disagree with this, because I feel like love is not just about a relationship, like physical relationship. I think the ultimate love that everyone should strive for and really misses in the world is the love of God. And I think Christianity is the only way to find that love. So I can't really agree with that statement, because it's not hard to find God, but sometimes it's hard to give up our old ways. So I think that's what holds a lot of people back. And as for like, that's a more spiritual side of it. As for a physical side of it, if you want true love, then the only model you really have that's true is the model that God gives us, which is Christ and his sacrifice for us.
Right.
So if you want to find love, you want to first have an understanding of what godly love looks like, and then see someone who is also Christian, has that understanding, and then that's how you find love.
So I definitely agree with all of that.
Yeah, me too.
I think I'm looking at it from a perspective of Christianism as like the industry, so to speak, right? The church culture that we like to call it. I feel like it's toxic sometimes, and it makes it so impossible to even talk to a girl or date a girl, or even have problems in a relationship, because that can blow up and then everybody knows about it, and then you guys can't date or something happens, right?
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like let's say you're in a relationship and you have problems, like
Everybody's gonna know about it.
Yeah, you keep
Your
it,
whole
you
youth
keep
groups
it
will know about
private
it.
because of the fear that you keep it private because of the fear that people are gonna like make fun of you or whatever.
You can't. You
when
can't. Yeah.
opening up could help you. You know?
Yeah.
You can't be sort of private nowadays, especially. And it sucks that we have to even talk like this because
Yeah.
it shouldn't be like that, right?
Yeah.
Jesus, Jesus would, his goal was to have everybody together, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And it's like, it kind of sucks that we can't have that privacy or we can't flourish in a relationship with, this toxic culture around. And, it's crazy because in every church, there's gonna be problems. You're not gonna find a church that's perfect.
I don't think Christianity makes it difficult to find love per se. I think it just kind of like church culture sometimes, which sometimes doesn't match up with the Bible, which kind of sucks. But a lot of it also too is sometimes dating can be a bit difficult. And I don't think that's from Christianity. I think it's more of like just expectations. So like there's a lot of pressure. Hopefully like in your church community, there isn't like gossip and things going around like about your relationship and stuff. So yeah, sometimes it can be a bit of a hassle, but the Lord really guides you. Like he cares about your desires and those types of things. So I definitely disagree overall with this statement.
Yeah, I also disagree. Like, I don't think Christianity makes it hard per se. I feel like we ourselves make it hard. Typically, like if you follow God, like he guides your path the right way. You'll go the right way. But sometimes we just tend to stray, and I think that's where the difficulty comes in.
Yeah. One last thing. Going back to what I said in the beginning, love or God's love is all about sacrifice. So that's what we should model. And often we get selfish when in a relationship. And when that happens, that's when things start to crumble.
Yeah, agree.
All right.
All right. Oh, what? Where are you fighting at, bro?
Worship Center.
Yo, nice meeting you.
Oh, this is my cousin.
You know Cassandra pretty well?
My little cousin.
Yeah, right?